Hi, and this is a quick, or rather quick, video tutorial on how to do Shadow Pounce strats in Gauntlet. So this is a kind of an advanced level tutorial. I think it's already needed to know all the tricks that came before Shadow Pounce, like Furball Jump, for example. But let's do a quick recap here for a few things. So I have these gadgets equipped. It doesn't matter which button you equip these, but you're gonna need Shadow Power level 1, Rocket Boots, and Feral Pounce. Yeah. And you want to use Rocket Boots right off the bat, immediately when you can do inputs in Gauntlet, because it gives you less downwards gravity. Basically, gives slides, jumps, normal jumps, and Feral Pounces about 13% more airtime. And then there's a Furball Jump. When you do the circle landing animation, Sly has to finish that animation. But if we press square X and a gadget, within 0.5 seconds from Sly actually touching the object, you can just use the gadget from that circle landing point. There are a few furball jumps in Gauntlet, so it's a good thing to refresh these things. And how to perform Shadow Pounce, the one where you can just basically super jump across the entire Gauntlet, is that you press Shadow Power level 1 and the gadget that you want to use, usually Feral Pounce, actually only Feral Pounce in Gauntlet, right when the midair square animation ends, right before that, because the game stores your inputs for 0.5 seconds. You can also mash those buttons like this to get it like consistently, but it's not needed. So you press square midair, and right when you see the Sly's cane not moving anymore, Sly's cane has reached the ending of this animation. The cane is not moving anymore. Then you want to press Shadow Power level 1 and Feral Pounce. And with practice you can start stretching these Feral Pounces as much as you possibly can. But be careful, since you can fall to the water quite easily. Right now I'm just touching the water, which is like basically almost taking damage from it. The method how to prevent this falling to water from happening consistently, but is also sometimes clearly slower, is to just do Shadow Pounces on the height of your Feral Pounce, basically not stretching them at all. See, I'm pretty far from touching the water at the moment. So there are basically two ways you can do Shadow Pounce in the optimized Gauntlet, and only two. Just the midair square and then do a Feral Pounce. Or, alternatively, usually the faster version, by using Rocket Boots and Spin Attack, and right when you are going off a ledge with Spin Attack, you can do a Shadow Pounce from a Spin Attack. After the animation for Spin Attack has ended, it also counts as you playing in a solid ground state at the moment, so you can do a Shadow Pounce from that state as well with the same way as you can with midair square. But the thing here is, and the difference is, that midair square stops your forward momentum completely for about 20 frames, but Spin Attack doesn't do that. Meaning that using Shadow Pounce from Spin Attack is basically always faster than using just midair square Shadow Pounce. When we compare using the Spin Attack Shadow Pounce to just simply using Paraglider, or to the glitch we've known for years now, which is Skyrocket, using Shadow Pounce from Spin Attack is always faster than using Skyrocket, and always faster than using Paraglider. but the midair square is harder to compare with Paraglider. In some situations in Gauntlet where you can clearly use Paraglider instead of another midair square Shadow Pounce, it's just slightly faster to use Paraglider instead there, just because the fact that midair square stops your momentum. So on with the strats. With slide on comment section, you want to Shadow Pounce directly to this hook right here, and just using midair square Shadow Pounces, it's extremely hard, but I think doable to do it with just 2 Shadow Pounces. But if you do spin attack Shadow Pounce from the ledge, you can make to the hook with only two Shadow Pounces. And then what to do after you reach this hook is to do a furball jump off of it and to the barrel. Just quickly tapping R1 isn't enough to do this landing on the barrel cleanly, so you need to hold the R1 button a bit longer down than to just tap it to cut the momentum, to cut the upwards momentum of Feral Pounce. And then just Feral Pounce, one time Feral Pounce off to this platform and continue on to the Gauntlet section. Now the optimal way to hit this trigger here is to aim to the corner of this hilt here. That is because when you let go of rocket boots, the game likes to slide forwards for a few frames because he's going so fast. So by bonking on that hilt, the momentum stops instantly right there, and you can just do a quick cut to the left. Now here I have to explain these gold piles. If you look around enough, you'll start to notice that Gauntlet only has 2 gold pile models in it. 2 different gold pile models. Like, they're all exactly the same 2 type. There's this long and not so tall gold pile, and then there's this tall gold pile which isn't that long in length. Instead it's high in altitude. And basically all gold pile models in Gauntlet are different sizes of these 2 gold piles. So by knowing this, that also means that since these are the same model but with different size, you can do the same things in same gold piles as you can do with other gold piles. Here I forgot to explain how you jump from these gold piles, but that's not particularly new knowledge, but let's go through it anyways. So the midair square and triangle gives you ground on slopes. By quickly pressing square and right after Feral Pounce, you'll just jump out of the gold pile. This works with triangle as well, but it's a bit trickier. So the route starts with all strats first off, and when you reach this platform, the new route starts. You can just basically jump off from this and just do Shadow Pounces all the way to the next trigger area, which is here. And you'll do a few of them and you'll reach this trigger, no problem. Doing the spin attack strat here once again doesn't save that much time, but it saves some time. To do the spin attack strat, you basically have to do 3 quick inputs back to back, which are rocket boost, triangle, and square, and then Shadow Pounce. So that's roughly about 5 inputs back to back pretty quickly. And when you want to do spin attack from gold piles, that means you have to do 6 inputs back to back pretty quickly. So this is getting kinda advanced here already. Even more advanced than it was before. So I guess I'll just slow-mo this down. So press rocket boost, triangle. Then press square instantly when you see Slice Cane starting to emit sparkles. And then do the Shadow Pounce with Shadow Power level 1 and Feral Pounce at the same time. You can also mash square. Why not, basically. So on to the Salim Al-Kupar section. Because you enter from here, and you straight have to go here with the optimal route. This is kind of tricky first. So you want to hit this trigger first. I'm not using personally rocket boots or anything like that here, since this area with your movement is so limited. So I just run to this corner. You might bonk on it. You don't have to run all the way to this corner and bonk on it. Run over here and just press circle. So then just run to the ledge again and start Shadow Pouncing. You'll need 2 to reach this point, and Feral Pounce onto this gold pile and onwards to the next trigger. Now the more optimal way that also loses more gadget meter, we'll come to that at some point, is to aim not so far away and use rocket boots instead. So there I once again used the spin attack, Shadow Pounce. And using Shadow Pounce like that from a gold pile is not the hardest strat of the Gauntlet, but it might be the most advanced. So now that you're over here, you should be able to reach the altitude where you can just simply jump on top of this gold pile. So you do have a lot of options here. Just do 2 and then just continue moving forwards. Or then do 3, which is a bit of a route detour, but you can do it for sure. Or then do the spin attack strat. So if you want to do a spin attack Shadow Pounce off a gold pile, you'll need to add one more input, and that is the square right before tapping on rocket boots. So the inputs you do here. So right after Feral Pouncing the second time from the gold pile, you quickly press square rocket boots and hold on rocket boots, triangle, then when the triangle move has loaded, press square, and after that, Shadow Power level 1 and Feral Pounce at the same time. Now when you reach this platform, you can do it from different angles. You can reach this platform right from this ground, or these wooden blanks. And you want to use rocket boots to reach the trigger the fastest, but you might bonk on these wooden blanks rather easily, like this. So I'm maybe not recommending to do that straight from this corner. Like, this is a pretty deceptive corner right here. So you want to land straight on this solid ground and rocket boots to the trigger, or then slightly on the right, where you can also rocket boost to the trigger. Here is once again a ledge that you can't go through with rocket boots. You'll have to go a bit more to the left in order to get past that with rocket boost momentum. Basically from the left side of this corner right here. So then we'll hit the trigger and move on to the Slay McCooper section, and here there's a one Shadow Pounce spin attack strat you can do, but it only saves like a few frames and loses gadget meter a lot compared to the time save. So I'm not doing it in runs, but there's a ledge climb strat on top of this rope. We'll get to that. So the strats are kind of all strats here.
Slay McCooper could break any lock with a single blow.
Now, there I did the ledge climb strat wrong. Once again, this saves only like 10 frames or something like that, compared to just using Paraglider. So to do the ledge climb strat, it looks like this. Sly just starts walking after jumping, after pressing X. Instead of hovering around like this, you could just do this. So there are a few things you need to do here, but not that many. 1. Hold left stick upwards. Straight up, left analog stick straight upwards, and quickly press X and square back to back. The timing isn't like instantaneous, because if you press those buttons back to back as quickly as you possibly can, you'll not end up getting it. And then just either rocket boots or use Feral Pounce to get to this trigger. So the strats with these swords are the same that they were before, since you'd have to use mid-air square to get through these swords here. You can by quickly just double jumping all the way through the swords, but this is slower than just doing the furball jumps from the swords. So next there are 2 Shadow Pounces from Spin Attack, and One of them is basically replacing jump attack here, but that gap isn't that big as this gap right here. This gap is enormously big. So what I'm trying to say is that there's 3 possible outcomes from doing the Shadow Pounce from here. 1, you'll end up getting it and just move on forwards with rocket boots. 2, you end up ledge grabbing like this, and you can just use the ledge climb strat from that. Or 3, you completely miss the mark, basically. Like this. Then you can do a backup here. Just start bouncing over here, doing slope intercepts with square, and then just jump straight over here. Now the method of getting this trick every time without ledge grabbing, without failing this enormous gap, is to press square to actually start spinning around only after you've started to fall down after passing by this particular point in the platform. So basically, not like this, but more like this. I hope you get it. And as execution, easy. And then this next is much more limited. Like here you don't have to wait at all, basically. You can get it so easily, even if you start doing the spin attack as quickly as you want or can. But once again, waiting here for slide to start falling down the same way as here is kind of like a guarantee that you'll get it without ledge grabs or anything like that. On Red A section is just the same as before. You just damage boost all these and then just rocket boots and land straight on the rope. So here is a one-time used glitch in the Gauntlet. Once again, known before, but let's go through this again, which is Paraglide Boosting. Sly will preserve his forward momentum that he had on the rope when sliding downwards to the jump with Paraglider if you press R1 and X at the exact same time. Like here I didn't get it. It's very easy to see if you got it or not. It's like square boosting. There you got it. And there you didn't get it. It saves like half a second, so nothing that major. So now I want to talk about the health pickups in Gauntlet. You're gonna need 2. That's the most optimal way to do Gauntlet. And with the old route, we could get 2 from free, since we had to wait cycles in the Thaddeus' section, but we don't have to wait for those cycles anymore, so the second health pickup comes a bit slower this time, but it's, I guess, okay. So you want to get 1 health pickup from breaking these barrels here in Henrietta's section, and then another one right after here in Tennessee's section. This is the most optimal way to get it with the new route. Basically right after pressing circle, just break these and you get a quick health. And immediately when retrieving the health, you want to Feral Pounce on the right and start doing the Shadow Pounce route. Now the way how you can guarantee yourself to get a health pickup from here is very simple. The fact that if a broken item drops health or not isn't completely RNG. There's some standard deviation factors to it, but it's pretty consistent in the long run. And on average, every 7th item you break drops health. So there are a lot of barrels here. If you get a health pickup early on with this section and you start breaking these barrels, there's like 1, 2, 3, then you break this barrel over here, that's 4, then you break 3 items here, that's 7. You're almost guaranteed to get a health drop at that point. If you don't get it, then you're gonna get it from the next one, basically guaranteed from the 8th one. So the Shadow Pounce route with Tennessee is a bit tricky. You need to aim for this particular part of this gold pile right here to get the jump optimally.
Kid Cooper learned to slide along railroad tracks in the Old West.
It's actually more precise than it looks. So quickly double Feral Pounce onto the edge of this platform, then do a 1 Shadow Pounce. The trick here is not to land on that gold pile with a steep angle. Let's just say that. The thing you don't want to do is this. Now that can happen, but if you just play around with it for a while, you'll get the feeling of how to do it. Then another slope intercept here, another there. This Tennessee section has a lot of slope intercepts. There, there, and here. Once again, the old strats used to do it like this, when you use Paraglider. But Paraglider is slow. It's just slow. So what you want to actually do is rocket boost to this corner and just stomp out of it. You don't have to use Paraglider. Of course, rocket boosting, using rocket boots as a whole with this kind of angle is gonna slide you downwards, inevitably. But it's doable if you know how to control rocket boots. Like, you could have done this trick for a while. I've known about this, but before it just spent too much gadget meter IMO using rocket boots like this on this slope. But now that we have Shadow Pounce, there's actually more leniency on gadget meter, and you can do the Shadow Pounce from spin attack here, like this. Once again, I didn't reach the corner of the platform, so it wasn't an actual Shadow Pounce. Now this is a tricky strat. There are a lot of outcomes that can come from using this. This is the optimal one, where you get a high launch, because you didn't touch the ground after this, but then there's this one, where you actually touched the bottom of this gold pile and lost your height, but that's not bad. It only loses about like a couple of frames to getting the high launch. And then just continue into the end with old strats. And we're in the Thaddeus' section, which is the hardest. So here is the hardest optimal strat in the Gauntlet. There are even more optimal strats. The most optimal strats you can possibly do is ridiculous, and I'm not doing it. It's jumping on top of this pile without ledge grabs, and then doing the 4-time Feral Pounces on top of this corner. I didn't even route clips with jumping on top of this. It saves like 0.3 seconds to get on top of this pole flawlessly, and then just Shadow Pounce your way on top of this gold pile. I'm not gonna get into using that, the top of that pole, it's ridiculous. So once again, this model of the gold pile is the tall model, and it's really big. It's really big. Like, see, there's a smaller version of the same gold pile. This is just a really big model of it, of the same model. Oh, there's once again an even smaller one. So yeah, they work the same way. So if you know how to climb a smaller one, you know how to climb a bigger one as well. Like, the main reason why getting on top of this pole is faster is because you can do this strat from it once again. So this gold pile, there are several different strats how you can gain so much height from it that you can just skip all these hammers on this hammer wall. And it's fastest to use the left side, but you can also use the right side. I'm not gonna cover the right side here just because I don't feel like it, but anyways, use the left side, go over here, and you can start jumping on it. Now, the optimal route uses 4 sloped Feral Pounces. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I actually got the 4th one, but the 4th Feral Pounce is the hardest strat in the Gauntlet with Shadow Pounce strats. I got it 2 times on a row though, but it's not gonna happen every time, and it's not gonna happen every time in runs. But if you miss that, if something like this happens, let me see. If you didn't get it, you just start sliding downwards, then don't care, since you're so far into the gauntlet at this point, then resetting for losing like maybe 1.5 seconds for not getting it is not worth resetting at that point. You're so far into the gauntlet at this point. So what you actually want to do if you fail this, which will happen many times, for me as well. Now, immediately after failing this, try to see if you still have enough height, so you can start paragliding and aim towards this point right here, and continue moving on forwards. But of course the optimal strat, which I'm not getting, like this, quickly taps on Paraglider for a second, and then just Feral Pounces on top of the entire platform, right? Like that. So, the route as a whole. You come here, you hit the trigger, you Feral Pounce on top of this, and you do 2 Shadow Pounces. You try to stretch them out in order to reach this. Shit. Well, then just Paraglide on over here and continue the gauntlet. So you get 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like that. And you're through, and you can continue the gauntlet on until the end. And the strats in the end are not that different from older strats, I guess. Like, there's one nice movement optimization that Furball showed us with this final laser here, is that you can just easily cut through it. So that's about it. Okay, thanks for watching, hopefully you understood even something, and I'll see you next time with something else. Bye.